My name is Tara. I am 32 years old and married. Since my childhood, I have awakened to the joy of eating. My grandmother, who adored me, found it adorable to watch me eat and kept feeding me, so by the time I finished elementary school, I had already developed a body that could rival an adult's. Despite this, I continued to prioritize the happiness of eating without forcing myself to diet, even though I was often teased by boys about my appearance. My friends, who accepted me as I was, would grab my arms while saying, "You really look happy when you're eating. That meat looks soothing." With this, I built a position as a healer in society. My husband, Adam, who respected my consistent love for food, proposed by saying, "I want to watch you eat forever." Then we got married and decided to live in the house of Adam's parents at their request. In fact, my in-laws' house has been a vast and luxurious property passed down through generations, but maintaining it has been a challenge with the income of my father-in-law, a civil servant, and Adam. However, when they tried to sell the property and house, there was strong opposition from their relatives, and they begged us to live there to help, resulting in us starting to live together. I agreed quickly due to my optimistic nature, and we were provided with 2 rooms to start our life together. Allie, Adam's sister, also lives in the same house, and she works as a designer with outstanding style and beauty. Honestly, it was surprising how little she resembled Adam. Since their mother is slim, Adam probably resembles his plump father. However, she doesn't seem to like me much when I first greeted her. She bluntly said, "You two are quite alike. I'm not fond of people who lack self-control." Used to such prejudice, I responded, "I do practice self-control. It's just the kind that doesn't involve holding back from eating what I want." To this, while my in-laws could barely contain their laughter, she did not smile and strongly retorted, "Don't you think you are bothering others?" "It's truly unpleasant," I replied again. "That may narrow my perspective a bit. I'm sorry for that, but I see it as training for glaucoma." Adam laughed heartily at my response, but Allie remained expressionless and quickly returned to her room. Since we started living together, I often have seconds during meals, but Allie usually eats very little and leaves quickly. When I asked Allie, "Why don't you eat? Your mother's cooking is wonderful, isn't it?" Allie glanced at me and angrily replied, "Because I gained body fat when I measured yesterday. Don't say unnecessary things. That's why I dislike people who are overweight. You really lack consideration." She then stormed off, and even though her mother shouted Allie, apologized, she ignored her and went back to her room. Her mother apologized to me, looking sorry, saying, "I'm sorry, she used to love eating too," and when I happily continued eating and said, "Your cooking is really delicious," it's a shame her mother was pleased. I always believe that food brings happiness to people. In this communal living, I have a good relationship with my parents-in-law and Adam, and especially enjoy the delicious home-cooked meals by my mother-in-law. My father-in-law would say, "You really eat well. It makes me hungry too," and we enjoy drinking together in the evenings, sourcing local delicacies and going out to nice restaurants, building a very good family relationship, except for Allie. She always cautions us during meals, saying, "I can't handle such high-calorie food. I don't understand eating late at night. Hold back a little." When invited to eat together, she refuses, saying, "It's embarrassing to be with someone who is overweight." I casually brush it off with, "Well, if that's how it is, then it can't be helped," and when the family and I go out, upon returning, she starts angrily, "Why would you go out dressed like that? Unbelievable." I joke and laugh, saying, "Oops." I got scolded again, and Allie returns to her room angrily. The family can't help but burst into laughter, as if watching a comedy. It seems she doesn't find it funny that I enjoy a sense of unity with the family, regardless of what I say. Ali then began to criticize from a different perspective, saying, "Really, what is the point if the daughter-in-law doesn't cook? Dad and Mom spoil you too much." Since I could work from home, when we moved in, I was able to use a room for work, and we had agreed that I would pay rent in exchange for my mother-in-law handling the household chores. When I told this to Ali, she pressed me, saying, "You say you're working, but you're just touching the computer all day long in your room. You're probably just playing. What kind of work are you doing? Tell me." When I couldn't answer clearly, she concluded, "See, my family and your brother are the same. They won't tell me specifically. You're definitely not doing any real work." There were special reasons I couldn't tell her, but I couldn't discuss them. As a result, she completely believed I was a NEET. Despite my nature of not being swayed by others' opinions, I ignored Ali's words when she called me a lazy NEET wife, thinking, if that's what she wants to think, I'm fine with it. However, I could never have imagined the turn of events that occurred about a year after we started living together. Ali announced that she was getting married. Her fiancé was a graduate of a prestigious private university and an elite working at a major publishing house. She said she fell in love with him at first sight during a collaborative work project. "See, I am different from you," Ali declared proudly, and I sincerely congratulated her, saying, "That's wonderful." At the family introduction, I couldn't meet him in person due to an important work commitment, but the photo Adam brought back showed a very handsome young man, and they made a stunningly beautiful couple. I had a feeling I had seen him somewhere before but couldn't quite recall, and soon it was the day of Ali's wedding. That day, I went to the wedding venue with Adam and my parents-in-law. The venue was decorated luxuriously, just like Ali, reminiscent of a celebrity's wedding featured in magazines. I was excited about the food and headed to the family table, but strangely, I couldn't find my seat. My husband and parents-in-law helped me look for my place card, but it was nowhere to be found. Even after rechecking the seating chart on the invitation, my name was clearly listed. I stopped a staff member and asked, "Excuse me, but I can't find my seat," and they quickly contacted the manager, who replied, "We were informed by the bride that the person for that seat would not be attending." Shocked, I rushed to the bride's room and asked the bride, dressed in her wedding gown, "Ali, I can't find my seat." Ali turned around reluctantly and said, "Today is my day to be the center of attention. I don't want people I don't wish for here. If you want to participate, pay $10,000. My husband and his parents, who were there, could not hide their shock and collectively condemned her words, saying, "Ali, why would you say that? Quickly prepare her seat. Think before you speak." Following this, Ali hysterically screamed, "Enough, enough, really enough. Dad, Mom, brother, you all spoil your sister-in-law too much." While standing up, she pointed at me and yelled, "What is this? Caring for someone as fat and ugly as an animal? It's really disgusting." At that moment, a man in a tuxedo entered the room, his expression one of surprise at Ali's behavior. He seemed to be the groom. Unaware that he had entered the room, Ali continued, "I hate women who are like pigs. There's no place for a neat parasite like you here. Go home now." At that moment, the groom caught a glimpse of my face and exclaimed, "Ah." His complexion turned pale rapidly. He rushed over to Ali, shouting, "Wait, wait. Ali, what are you doing?" as he grabbed her arm and covered her mouth. Ali retorted, "Let me speak. Don't touch my face. You'll ruin my makeup while trying to shake off his hand. What's wrong with telling the truth? I don't want to be thought of as related to this person, she said, panting while she straightened her disheveled hair. Then, the groom quietly said, "You don't care if I lose my job, do you?" Allie, with a shocked expression, responded, "What?" and stared intently at the groom's face. Then he turned to me and declared, "This lady here is the renowned illustrator Tara. She's a significant figure at our company." He shouted assertively, ran towards me, and loudly apologized. "My wife has made an inexcusable mistake." Allie stood there dumbfounded and muttered, "No way." The author of Happy, even if ugly or fat. The groom urged her, "Exactly. Apologize now, my job is on the line." Allie still couldn't accept reality and murmured to herself, "No, say it's not true. An illustrator has lots of assistants, right?" Impatient, the groom responded, "These days most of the work is done on computers, so we don't need a lot of staff. Now apologize," he demanded sternly while tapping the floor. Allie, still unwilling to accept the truth, looked desperately at her husband and parents. "This is a lie, right? Just someone who looks like her, right? You didn't know either, right, brother?" Adam shook his head and firmly stated, "It's true. You talk too much, so we were asked to keep it a secret. She said she was fine, even if you called her a neat." As Adam spoke, his parents quietly nodded, and Allie muttered with a pale face, "I was the only one who didn't know." The groom pressed her, "Just apologize," but Allie bit her lower lip and stubbornly shook her head, "No, because it's true that she's fat. I haven't done anything wrong." Then the groom approached Allie, held the back of her head firmly, and shouted, "What nonsense are you spouting? Apologize." Now, as he demanded, her father approached and revealed, "Allie, apologize right now. It was Tara who settled your debts." Hearing this, the groom, Steve, was surprised and asked him, "Debt?" He then began to explain, "It's embarrassing to admit, but my daughter blamed me for her ugliness and demanded money for cosmetic surgery." Allie interrupted him loudly, shouting, "Be quiet. That's not relevant right now." Steve, hearing this for the first time, pressed, "Allie, cosmetic surgery? Allie, is that true? I wasn't aware of this." Allie, distorting her face, said, "It's a lie, all lies." "Dad, what are you saying?" "Steve, don't take it seriously," but her father shook his head. "I knew you hadn't told him. You should have known before the wedding." "I'm sorry for hiding this," he apologized to Steve. He continued, however, "I now regret providing the funds for the surgery. Tara has made me realize that," he said, expressing his gratitude towards me. Hearing this, my mother-in-law hesitated before stepping forward. "I regret not stopping it, but I couldn't bear to see you ridiculed by others. Steve, I sincerely apologize. Please forgive us for keeping quiet," she said, tears welling up in her eyes. Steve, apologized to by the parents, showed confusion but responded generously, "Don't apologize so much. Nowadays, cosmetic surgery is common and changing a little bit." However, Allie stubbornly insisted, "I didn't do any of that." "Steve, don't believe them." "Mom, why would you say that?" continuing to deny everything strongly. At that moment, I showed Steve photos of Allie from her childhood and her middle and high school years. I felt it was better to make the facts public than to keep hiding them, for her own good and that of her parents. It was against my principles to allow my parents-in-law to be blamed for dishonesty. The images captured a woman whose appearance was significantly different from before, looking gloomy. "Incredible. Is this Allie?" he exclaimed in shock. "Where did you get these?" Allie attempted to snatch my smartphone, angrily swinging her hand. As I dodged her, Steve pointed out, "The fact you're so upset confirms it's true." Caught off guard, Allie's face showed she felt defeated, and she collapsed to her knees. Steve looked on with displeasure. "I received those photos from your father-in-law when he asked me to take over the debt for the surgery costs," I explained. "You didn't invite any friends from before your university days to this wedding, right?" "That's because of this," I revealed, exposing that Allie had significantly altered her body during her gap year before university. She had changed her eyes, nose, and chin and undergone liposuction, becoming completely unrecognizable. After a moment's thought, Steve approached Allie. "Allie, I'm not upset about the surgery itself, but you should have told me before we got married," he said. And despite Allie's apology, his anger did not subside. "The wedding today is canceled." "I need to rethink our marriage," he declared firmly. Allie's eyes widened in shock, and she momentarily lost her words, her mouth opening and closing without sound. Next, the groom, Steve, turned to me and said, "This ends my relationship with her. I hope to maintain a good relationship with your company moving forward." He made this request to me politely. Confused, I responded, "To hear it said like that, it's as if the cancellation of the marriage is my fault." Steve was clear in his response. "No, I did not expect such disrespect from her. I am disappointed in that." "So, it is not your fault," he assured me. At that moment, Allie began to cry heavily, saying, "That story. Happy even if ugly or fat. I loved it in high school. I always thought I couldn't be happy unless I was beautiful." And then she burst into loud sobs. Her aggressiveness towards me likely stemmed from jealousy because I was comfortably doing what she could not. She believed her actions were justified, thinking that beautiful people should always be happy, and those who are not should be proven miserable by others' harsh words. Afterward, the wedding was canceled, and Allie quit her job and secluded herself in her room. Who was it that had been despising me as a NEET? She no longer came down to the kitchen, and when food was brought to her, she would quietly say, "I don't need it," refusing to eat at all. Occasionally, I noticed the contents of the refrigerator diminishing, indicating she was eating something, but no one in the family ever saw her leave her room. Adam and his parents were very worried. Unable to bear it any longer, I began drawing a comic book based on her. The story was about a woman who was ridiculed for her looks from a young age, underwent cosmetic surgery, and grasped happiness. The protagonist says, "No matter what you look like, the person who finds happiness wins," ending the story with a smile. Though drawn comically, I hoped it would reach her, and I printed it and left it in her room. A few days later, while I was working during the day, she knocked and entered my room. I saw her for the first time in 3 months. She was gaunt. Her complexion worsened by a lack of sunlight, and her former brilliance had faded. She handed me my manuscript and pointed to the pre-surgery character in the comic book, saying, "I don't really look this awful." I couldn't help but laugh at her comment and lightly chided, "Don't be so picky." To which she finally showed a smile, and it felt like the first time our hearts truly connected. Allie has become my assistant, helping with adding details to the backgrounds and coloring. I used to prefer doing all the work alone, but actually, working as a team has increased efficiency and added tension to our creations. Her experience as a former designer has brought a refined touch to our projects, highly appreciated by our editors. Lately, we've been brainstorming new ideas together, and we have developed a great creative partnership. In this creative process, our exchange of ideas and the merging of various concepts have led to unexpected new ideas. Given that Allie was once a huge fan of my work, our thoughts and sensibilities match surprisingly well, making our work together very smooth. In our free time, we also refresh ourselves by attending yoga classes or working out at a local gym. These activities help maintain our health and enhance our creative energy. She always confidently advises me, "Sis, you might want to lose a bit more weight," and her words are always encouraging. I retorted, "Being heavier is more like me, but lately, I have been seriously considering the impact of my weight on my health, especially since I've started feeling physical discomfort like knee pain. I've tried the diet methods she suggested and am making an effort to be more health conscious. As a result, I feel my skin condition has also improved. Since Ali began working with me, her vitality and brightness have clearly improved. The tense atmosphere she once had is gone, and now she can work more relaxed and enjoyably." Perhaps the guilt over her past cosmetic surgery had been tormenting her for a long time. Adam sometimes marvels at how much we've changed and jokes, "I never thought you two would get along so well. The goddess of ugliness must have brought you together." Hearing this joke, Ali and I genuinely laugh, now able to take what might have once been hurtful as a joke filled with affection. Ali comments, "The goddess of ugliness, that's quite a nice ring to it and deepens the conversation. But maybe this goddess is actually a wonderful deity who connects people with beautiful hearts." I wholeheartedly agree with her opinion and enthusiastically respond, "Exactly, Ali. How about we title our next project The Gifts of the Goddess of Ugliness?" Ali nods brightly at this new idea. My parents-in-law also look happier as the atmosphere at home has become even more harmonious. They seem to thoroughly enjoy these daily small changes. On a sunny day, my father-in-law visited our bustling workspace and expressed his heartfelt gratitude, albeit with a bit of shyness. "Thank you so much. I never imagined our home could become this bright," he said that as he was deeply moved. My mother-in-law also enjoys the daily meals immensely, saying, "There's nothing more delicious than meals eaten together as a family," her eyes shining with happiness. Today, as we enjoy the delicious meal painstakingly prepared by my mother-in-law, Ali and I are preparing for upcoming tasks. I am filled with gratitude. Through experiences like these, I have once again realized how unpredictable life can be, steering us in directions we never anticipated. Not all of it is bad. Hidden within are possibilities for new happiness and insights. I could not have imagined a few months ago that my relationship with Ali would improve so much. Now we have become essential supports for each other, enhancing one another's lives. Moving forward, I cherish these moments of delicious meals, fulfilling work, and warm family time as we continue to weave new stories. Through our creations, I hope to spread the message that everyone can find their own happiness, encouraging each individual to discover what brings joy to their life.